tell me a little about yourself, Victor.
Let's see. I used to do Taekwondo. I got a second degree black belt, but I haven't done it in
Oh, same
years.
here. Yeah.
And I kind of want to go back and do
Okay.
some more. I am a comedian. I've been on Conan O'Brien and Jimmy Kimmel Live. I'm a New Yorker cartoonist. Uh, and I make movies and stuff. And I have a book that I'm writing right now that is coming out, which is a fake highlights magazine, uh, a fake highlights magazine called the Anti-Racism Activity Book. um,
So what is that about?
just it's just about like it's a book. It's like a highlights magazine that's supposed to. It's like a how highlights magazines are like solve puzzles for the winter highlights magazine. So it's
Right.
just like solving puzzles that are supposed to solve racism. It's really funny in that basically I say I'm making this book to solve racism, but of course it can't solve racism. So
Right.
it's just stupid. It's just fun.
Is it a short book? Is it a long book? Does it have illustrations?
It has illustrations, it has puzzles, it has puzzles, crosswords, word finds, but all of them themed around the satire.
Okay. And when is that coming out?
It is actually going to come out in December for Christmas.
Okay. It'll be available on like Amazon and all that stuff.
Yes, in fact, a if somebody wanted to pre-order a signed copy right now, you can go to antiracism.online and order one right now if you want.
Okay. Awesome. And is that your primary focus? Is writing the book? Do you
No.
like it? What do you do? What's the main thing that you focus on?
Uh the main thing that I focus on, this is going to sound crazy, but I basically built a company so that I can just explore my curiosity from day to day until that becomes a specific project, and that's what I do for a living. I just kind of like decide what I want to work on next,
Okay.
and that's about
And
it.
what it varies between like comedy and cartoons and TV appearances. Like, what do you put most of your effort into at this point?
Um, well, right now I have one, two, I have I have three I have three projects that are big and one that is looming that is going to be big. So right now I have a patent that I'm working on, which is software that helps people with disabilities.
Okay.
Uh, and I also have a video game website that I made.
Is Elon Musk like brain implant?
The video game
No,
website?
no, the patent you're working on.
Oh,
That'd be pretty awesome.
no, I'm not. No, no, it's not like that.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Those that's amazing. I wish
But
it was that, but no, I'm not that.
I don't know. It's a little bit
I
scary too. Because what if somebody hacks that?
Yeah, that would be scary. You're right. That would be really scary.
Like it all sounds good about like endless availability to knowledge and all that sort of stuff, and then you're like, wait a minute, what if somebody gets in there to become like a Manchurian candidate?
Yeah. I mean, here's a good idea though. Knowing that that is coming up, you should probably write a movie now
But it's
about
probably
that
too
getting
late. Probably
hacked.
somebody already has. There
No,
might be
that
a
maybe
hundred of them.
not. Maybe not. I've gotten a lot of things off the ground because I think somebody must have done this before, but then it
Right,
turns out that people haven't, or that they tried to do it and they did it really terribly. So
which does
actually,
happen quite a bit.
here's an example. Here's an example. I was trying to come up with a podcast, a daily podcast that was like an infotainment podcast. And
Okay.
then I realized I was like, hey, I was watching this show on Netflix called Netflix Explained. I love that show, actually. Have you ever seen that show?
I've never seen that show.
Okay, it's just a show where
Although
they're
I'm a little
like,
skeptical about all those like reality shows because they're very rarely reality.
oh no, this isn't a reality show. This is just like a show just straight up just like teaches you like it's just like an information show, but
Okay.
it's like fun. It like teaches you like say for instance like everything about playing poker, and it just does a
Okay.
whole episode about poker.
Okay.
And it's really cool. And then when I was watching it, I was like, whoa, this kind of sounds like a Wikipedia page. And then so I found out that you can just use Wikipedia pages and read them and release them as podcasts if you want to. And so I just started making a podcast, and I was like, somebody must have thought of this before. I was like, this has to have been thought of before. And then I found out that, yeah, a couple of people had thought of it before, but they did it very, very badly.
So nobody paid attention, so it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter.
So they started and they quit. And then I was like, I think I can do this as a real show and make it fun. And then it became a thing. I got an investment for it, and now it's a real podcast.
Very awesome. And what's your viewership or readership now? And what's your main avenue? Is it like YouTube or Apple or Google Podcasts?
We get listens all over right now. I think. I mean, we're not huge yet, but we are like up to like around 1,000 downloads a day
Right.
on the podcast, which is pretty
Which
good.
is right around when you can get monetized.
Exactly. So we're just and then it's 7 days a week. So every day 1,000 downloads. So
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty good. It's doing pretty good right now, and it's growing. So that's awesome.
I guess not Joe Rogan 130 million levels, but
No, no. But we're working on growing. So maybe it's called Wiki Listen, by the way.
Okay.
So
And
if anybody wants
if
to
they
check it
went to
out,
YouTube or they went to Apple, that's what they look for. Wiki Listen.
yeah, just go. If you type in Wiki Listen, we come up right away.
Okay, awesome. So is that what you're working on right now? Is the podcast? And then
That's one of the things. Yeah, one
when
of
you
the
have a
three
break,
things.
you work on like a book, or you work on maybe an acting gig. I know those are probably either they bombard you or they don't appear at all for a year. I don't know. That seems to be everyone I've talked to. That's kind of their experience. Like they want everything right now, or they just don't talk to you for a long period of time.
Right. And so really, really what happens with me as far as like acting goes is during the pandemic, I wasn't doing a lot of acting at all. So I started working on these other projects during the pandemic really, and they've kind of like started to blow up on their own. And so now I will be going back and doing more acting and stuff, but just I haven't really done a lot of it in the last 2 years.
Okay, do you think that was like kind of like a fortunate turn of events where like it helped you focus on something that you thought about, but now you were able to bring it to life?
Actually, I don't think that. No, for me, the pandemic was not a fortunate turn of events at all. My business, like everything about what I did was like I had to really just like I almost had to close up shop and move out of New York. Like it was almost like over, but it didn't end up being over. And eventually I was able to like climb out of all of the mayhem that the pandemic caused for me. But
Where are you in New York?
I'm in Queens.
Okay.
Actually, I'm in Ridgewood, Queens. It is
Okay.
voted the #1 neighborhood in the United States. Remember that article that came out about the top neighborhoods?
No.
Yeah,
But
Ridgewood,
I'm in
Queens
Long
is one
Beach,
of the
New
top.
York, so I'm not too far away from you.
Oh,
But
okay, that's cool.
was your landlord understanding about COVID at all?
It was pretty hard.
Yeah.
It was pretty hard, and I'll be 100% honest with you. Just like it was hard keeping up with rent, and we had to basically. But I did all the work that I had to do. Like I went and I made sure that I applied to all those programs that like help you with rent and stuff like that.
Right.
And I did all of that, and with my landlord, so that I showed them that I was like working to make sure as much as
You were
possible.
trying, yeah.
Yeah, that I was trying, and they were cool about it.
Yeah, I wish I could say that about my landlord, but my landlord was like, "Get a loan." It's like, yeah, great, thanks.
Yeah, I feel you. A lot of people were not so lucky. I think the thing with me is just like I kept in close contact with my landlord and just told them what was up, and then I really did do all the work. So I
Right.
mean, not only that, I did all the work, and it was hard too because the website that you had to apply through made no sense and it was
No, I know.
broken.
I went to the website myself, and like they had like a forgiveness loan, but you have to pay it back, and then some people didn't have to pay it back, and then you had some people totally taking advantage of the system. So you
Yep.
have like 30 branches, but each one is independently owned. So they say, oh, they're independent businesses, and they get like a giant debt forgiveness loan, but it turns out they're this massive corporation. So
Hmm.
we could probably get into that for hours about who got the
Yeah.
money they shouldn't have.
Yeah. There's like, and then yeah, and it was really difficult, and then but I just kind of stuck with it until they were able to actually give money, to my landlords. So I just, and it took a long time. It was difficult. It was very difficult.
Right. Well, I
I'm
know a
not
lot of
kidding.
people that were they really wanted to be writers, they really wanted to be like creative talent of some sort, but then it wasn't until they were locked at home and they couldn't do anything that they finally, got their ass in gear and they started to do it, and they actually are happy with what they are now because that was a secret passion of theirs that they had to exploit at the last minute. They were kind of forced to go that route.
I think I feel I feel like the pandemic did teach some people a few things. Like I think people learned, like when they had nothing to do, like when they didn't have to go to work for a while,
Right.
it's much more fun to not have to go to work. And so I think a lot of people kind of figured out, like, can I just make a living not having to go to work? And if people did, I think that's awesome. I don't mind if the world changes and people don't go to work. That's cool.
No, I think it's great if people pursue like a more risky venture, and they don't feel like it's as necessary because nothing is as reliable. But like some people are just like, yeah, this is great. I'll just slack off.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
true.
I don't think was great. That was a good turn. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Things seem to go up and down, like prices, like gas prices went way up and they came back down. So we'll see. But let's talk about you a little bit. So how did you get where you are now?
Um, I got where I am. Well, basically, uh, I came to New York, and at first I had a lot of success acting. Really, like I got cast in an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and I got cast in a Eddie Murphy movie, and then it I got acting roles quick, but then it became very obvious that while I was getting cast kind of like as a stunt casting, like they'd be like, "Oh, we have this weird looking dude," because there are not a lot of black people with albinism in the acting world, and so I kept getting cast at first, but I was concerned, like I don't want to be just like known as the albino dude.
Right.
Um, like look at it this way, like I want my life to be like I want to be I use this as an analogy all the time. I want to be Peter Dinklage, not Vern Troyer. Like that's what I wanted my career to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I went down this whole like I was trying to look you up. I try to look up all the guests before I start, interviewing them, see what they've done. And I
Yeah.
remember I looked up something and my girl said, you should check this out. And apparently albinos in Africa are considered, like a rarity, and they don't consider them people, but they have magical properties, so they will hunt them and kill them.
Yeah, that's a real thing that happens. That's really, I mean, that's really sad. Like that sucks.
Yeah,
That
I
sucks
was
so much.
again. I go down rabbit holes when I see
Yeah.
stuff, and I was like there's a kid in Johannesburg, and like
Hmm.
people were like trying to drill through the walls, and his parents were like calling people for help, and the neighbors finally chased him away. It's pretty fucking scary because they just hack their hands off and they hack their head off, and because they, like when I was reading into it, they don't even consider them people. They just go, oh well, this increases my immortality, or my my intelligence, or my whatever.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think it's the sad I think it's very sad. I mean, I can't imagine like if I was born in that part of the world and I had to deal with that.
Right.
Like that is, can you imagine? Can you imagine just being in a world where
Yeah.
like people hunted you?
Right.
Like what the hell? Like, oh my God.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a lesser thing by far, but like, I was like super punk rock in the South in the 80s. And my girl's like, well, if you were black or gay, you probably would have died because
Yeah.
I felt oppressed as a white kid, you
hmm
know?
Well, I mean, there's people are like that all around. Like some people won't like you because you have tattoos, you know?
Right.
Like some people will look at you and think that you're lesser because, of anything. And
Right.
and it's and it is like that all around. And and thank God that you don't like your life isn't in jeopardy. Because think about
Right.
if it was that bad.
Yeah, no, that's pretty bad. Like, I
Yeah.
think the family of that kid in Johannesburg, they're talking about moving to the U.S. to try and get away from that strange belief, that like
hmm
mysticism that you can kill people.
Interestingly enough, in one of the roles that I played on TV, I played a person with albinism trying to escape Africa, and it
Oh,
was this.
really?
Yeah, and it was a show with um it was an episode with Kathy Bates, the show called Harry's Law, and Kathy Bates was the star. And
Okay.
here's the worst part. In the end of the show, because I'm trying to get asylum, in the end of the show, they do not give me asylum and they send me back.
Oh, fuck.
I know. It's like, what is
That's
the
a dark
script?
ending. I mean, dark
Yeah.
endings usually make the biggest impression. I don't know if you've seen $1 Million Baby, like the Clint Eastwood movie with the female boxer.
I have not. Should I watch it?
It's a all right. It's a
Are you going to
really
spoil it?
good movie, but at
Okay.
the end of it, you're gonna be like, "Oh fuck," and you'll be depressed for like a week. So
Oh,
that's
man.
hard to sell, but it's a really really good movie.
Did you see the Uncut Gems?
No,
Okay. Well, I won't say anything.
what that's a movie. It's called Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems with Adam Sandler.
Okay. See, I'm not a big fan of Adam Sandler, but then
Okay.
again, I'm not a big fan of most comedians.
Well, it's a drama. It's really good.
Well, he can act, but it's hard to see Adam Sandler as a serious person. And I'm not saying that he's bad at it. It's hard for me to see him.
I challenge you to watch this movie because he's really good. He's really good.
Okay. Yeah, well, $1 Million Baby is like you've seen Mystic River.
I did not see Mystic River. No.
That's another movie with like they killed the wrong person at the end of it.
Are
Like
you spoiling every movie? Like recommending movies to me and then spoiling them?
I'm trying to. I'm just saying there are a lot that you're like, that was a really good movie, but it has a really dark ending.
I get it, but now I know that they killed the wrong person.
Well, I probably shouldn't have told you that because it's still worth it. It's still worth it. I didn't tell you the end of $1 Million Babies, so that's worth it too.
Okay, maybe I'll check out Million Dollar Baby. Okay, I still have time.
So, did you grow up in Queens?
Oh no, I grew up mostly in the South, actually, in Huntsville, Alabama, around that
Okay,
area. Yeah, mostly in the South. And then I moved up to Minneapolis in when I was like in my teens. And then I was in Minneapolis until I came to New York and tried to quote unquote make it.
right. Well, that's kind of what I did. Yeah, like I lived in Virginia, and there's not really much future in Virginia. At least, I wanted to be an artist, and there's not much future as an artist in Virginia. So I moved to New York. In fact, I remember my art teacher told me, he's like, if you want to make it, you got to move to New York. So I
Um,
did.
that's cool. Oh, you're an artist? That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm an artist. I'm a writer, but the main thing I do is art. In fact, I went to art school down in Virginia, and then I went to move to New York to be a comic artist. And the first comic company I interviewed with was DC Comics, and I thought I'd have a lot more freedom. They were pretty strict in those days, but they also almost went bankrupt. It was the movies that saved them.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm really into comic books too.
Yeah. I was like the my big thing about comic books was like I really like the stuff that was a little bit off, like Swamp Thing or Constantine or
Yeah.
Watchmen, and they wanted me to draw superheroes, Like I remember the editor, which I won't say his name, but he's pretty rude to me. But like he looks at my profile, he's like, "This might work in art school, but let me tell you what sells." And he pulls out a Superman comic and is a splash page of Superman punching Lex Luthor. He goes, "Do you want to do this?" I go, "No." He goes, "We don't have a job for you." And that was it.
Oh no.
But whatever. Life works out in other ways. I feel like so. I feel like I got something else going on.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I would love to see your art sometime, by the way.
No, awesome. Yeah, I'll after this is over, I'll send you a link. I have a website where I have everything on it, so I'll send you a
Awesome.
link to that. Um, but all right, so when you moved to New York, what was your primary focus? What were you trying to make it as?
When I moved to New York, I was trying to make it as a comedian and an actor.
Okay,
And I had immediate success with that. Like I get on Conan O'Brien, I got on Jimmy Kimmel Live, I had a couple movies and stuff. And then when I decided that I did not want to be, like the albino dude, I started writing and directing stuff so that I could have like, stuff under my belt that shows that I'm not just a pretty face. And
right.
so basically that led me to producing a lot of TV shows. And then one day I woke up and I was like, why am I producing these crappy TV shows? Because I was getting money to make like reality TV shows and I was like, I
Right.
hate this. Like these are awful. And so then that was the last time that 6 years ago, that was the last time that I was working for one of those shows. And then I basically said to myself, hey, if people trust me to produce like $1 million, franchise show or whatever, then I must be able to do that with my own stuff. And so that's when I really started building on my own stuff.
So, how did you go about building your own stuff?
Well, I theorized that first I would need to make some money, so then I tried to get some gigs as a producer to just get some money fast so that I could like have it to launch my company. Then I did get a really good producing gig with my business partner. His name is Ryan, and then we produced and directed um the a game show called The Great Fantasy Debate for Facebook Watch and Penguin Random House. So
Okay.
like I was the director and executive producer on that. And then right as it was being released, COVID hit. So then no more work came in and nothing else happened. And it's been 2 excruciating years of building back up.
Did you feel like you were finally like everything was kind of rolling in the right direction, and then COVID
Yes,
closed everything down?
exactly. I
And
was
now are
I
you
was
trying to
changing.
restart it, or did it close a lot of venues for you?
Yeah, well, it basically I was so for so so when you get that type of thing that is released, when it's released, you usually get to ride the wave of that thing's success.
Right.
But because of COVID, I did not get the chance to do that. So I instead I basically had to figure out how I was going to continue to do the type of stuff that I wanted to do, but then, keep my company alive during COVID. And I figured out that there are a couple of things that are like recession and COVID proof. For instance, like if you have a podcast that makes good money, that's like COVID proof. It can keep going and going even
Right.
through COVID and a recession because the listeners to most podcasts don't have to pay anything, just the advertisers. So if you get enough people listening to your podcast, you can make money. And then the other thing was um, video games are the same. And so like I've always loved making video games. And so where we I launched a website where it's a video game tournament every day and we give like $100 to the winner of the game tournament every day.
What kind of game is it?
We make them.
Okay. What is it more of like is it more of a skill game? Is it more of like a warfare game? Is it more of what's involved in it?
Oh, it we change them up every month or so. So
Okay.
so right now it's a skill game. I mean, kind of like you don't need any more skill than playing Flappy Bird. So it's a game
So,
that like most people can pick up, but then very few people can get a high score.
few people. So, how would people find this game?
Go to highscorewinsmoney.com.
Okay. And but that's one of like multiple focuses you have right now because you were talking about stuff that's recession proof, and you're working on this podcast, you're working on this book.
Right.
Do you have like a bunch of lines in the water right now, and you're kind of seeing what works the best for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I basically set up these projects and I also like I'll set up the projects so that they can run without me. So
Okay,
like once the website has been all set up, it can run without me. And once the podcast is all set up, there's somebody who does booking, somebody who does editing, blah blah blah. So all I have to do is like show up and record it and then I'm done. You know,
right.
so that's how I can work with more than one project at a time.
I
And
feel
so
like with some stuff, like the podcast, for instance, I feel like when people think, "Oh, well, I can make a lot of money," look at Joe Rogan. It's like, but that actually has been in the works for so long that you're kind of jumping in on the tail end of it. I feel like it's probably anything that's successful now probably already has a bunch of people already into it, so it's not going to be as profitable for those people as it was for the pioneers.
Um, y- that's true. However, there is a catch. That is a positive catch, which means that like what I did with my podcast was I showed how much money podcasts that have a certain amount of listeners could make, and then I basically showed what how much money it costs to get there, like with a marketing budget, and then I found an investor, so basically I launched my podcast with a marketing budget so that it can get bigger faster.
Nice. So what's the main focus? Like if people watch your podcast, what do you think they get out of it the most?
It's just fun because it's just like fun facts for Wikipedia. It's just like
Right.
fun weird stuff from Wikipedia. Like I feel like everybody every once in a while like gets in a Wikipedia hole, and then so like we're just finding the best stuff on Wikipedia.
I feel like
So,
Wikipedia might be a little scary too, though, because anybody can edit. So you're not
uh-huh.
100% sure. I know that people take stuff down all the time because there's a high volume of people watching it.
Yeah, and so that's fine, but it doesn't really matter for us because all we're doing is reading Wikipedia. We're not like a news source, and just like
Right.
we're just reading interesting stuff.
But yeah, what if there are any sort of like regulations? Like, you got to be factual if you broadcast or if you portray yourself as news, but if you portray yourself as opinion, probably the rule structure isn't as tight. I don't
Um,
know. I'm not familiar with it.
yeah, I don't really know, but I do know that I do know that Wikipedia tries to be accurate, and then I feel like the wild west of Wikipedia is kind of over. Like when Wikipedia first started, it was like anybody can edit it, blah blah.
Right.
We can do whatever we want to. But now there's like a much better system in place because it's been years. It's been like a long time, and so now when you first start editing Wikipedia, they watch you close, and you have to gain trust before your edits go live instantly.
But
So like
although I have seen like there are whole YouTube videos where there'll be like a whole bunch of celebrities and they're like, my Wikipedia page says, let me read it. That's true. Oh no, that's not true. Okay, that's not really the way it happened. And they go through the whole thing and they kind of break it down.
What's so funny is on my podcast, we read people's Wikipedia pages with them as a guest on the podcast.
Oh, that's
And then
great. Yeah.
we did one with the guy who created Qbert. Remember Qbert?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like we read the whole Wikipedia page for the creation of Qbert with the guy who created Qbert. And he was like, that's wrong, blah, blah. It was great. It's so funny.
No, that's great because you get like the real scope of it, and you get what's put out publicly. It's almost like that dichotomy almost exists with everything, like the way it's portrayed and the way it really is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that's one of the more fun parts. Like we're not saying like when we do the podcast, nobody is saying that like Wikipedia is right. In fact, we invite people on, to read their Wikipedia page. So that's even like it's just a fun show.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. All right, so let's switch for a moment to your book. So, what exactly are you putting into the book, and what do you think people are going to get out of it?
I think the book is just the book. The book was made. So basically, do you remember? Of course, George Floyd's murder. You remember that?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so when that
That was a
happened,
worldwide event. And
yeah,
I think the
exactly.
lockdowns blew it up even more because people had nothing to focus on except for that.
Right. And then after that, I made a cartoon for the New Yorker,
Okay.
that responding to it, and it became one of the like most shared it became one of the most shared New Yorker cartoons of that year. Okay.
Okay.
And it was basically it's a cartoon called Mountaintop, and it was about do you have a video podcast too?
Um, Mostly it's on
Audio?
YouTube right now, like broadcasting YouTube. But I recently signed up to I think it's Buzzsprout is the podcast like disperser, and it's on like Google Podcasts and Apple
Oh,
Podcasts and all that
so
stuff now.
can I share my screen and show you the cartoon?
Sure.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me do this. Boom. All right. So, yeah, this was it. So basically, I basically made this cartoon, and it's on a mountaintop, and it's two people, and there's a white guy and a black guy, and then basically it's just like you recognizing racism in America, because like everybody's like, oh my God, there is racism because George Floyd was murdered. And then I was like, but let's, do something about it. Like he's pointing up the hill, like we still have ways to go. And that was just basically it. Actually, we were just getting started because I was trying to make a cartoon that where like everybody can agree with this, like white people and black people can agree with this. Like, yeah, there's racism, and it sucks. That's what I was trying to say with my cartoon.
Okay.
That was pretty much it. And, and so, but then that got shared around a lot. Like Questlove shared it, Viola Davis shared it, and anyway, so then that idea became the idea for this book, the anti-racism activity book, which is all like puzzles, cartoons, and coloring pages, all about racism. But trust me, it's funny. Like there's
Right.
no, it's not, it's not like for instance, I basically said there's one page that has a blank page, and on the top of the page it says this page is reserved for all the white people who need to say the N word. Okay, and
Yeah.
then it's blank, and then on the bottom of the page it says if you disagree, feel free to draw yourself in.
I feel like a lot of people like people are very concerned about anything that you possibly separating, even if they're like coming from a good place and trying to do the right thing. Like cancel culture has become such a big thing that I think has affected comedy a bit. Like, have you
Yeah.
noticed that at all?
Oh, absolutely. Cancel culture has affected comedy. I have a very specific view on comedy. But it's not I haven't seen a lot of comedians with the same point of view. I mean, I'm sure that it's out there though, but here's my point of view. My point of view is that as a comedian, I think that you can joke about anything. You can joke about whatever you want to joke about.
Right.
But but it better be good. Like, don't be surprised.
Right.
Don't be surprised if you try to make a joke about a risque subject and it doesn't work and then people hate you and you get canceled. Don't be surprised. Like, be
Well, I
good.
think that's
Be
totally fair.
good.
Like when Dave Chappelle makes a joke, even if it's a risque subject, it's fucking funny.
Yeah, I mean, I saw his last special and I didn't think everything was super funny, but a lot of it was really funny.
Right.
Like not everything was
Well,
perfect,
it's rare
but a
that
lot of it was really funny.
everything is funny, but like in general, anything by Dave Chappelle tends to be funny or tends to hit me
Yeah.
as funny. The same with like Bill Burr, the same with like Joe Rogan, same with there are a few people that like most of what they put out is pretty funny.
Yeah, and I just feel like if you want to walk that line, then sometimes people are going to react badly to it. But don't be surprised. Like comedians who act like it was a joke, nobody should be mad. Don't be like nobody should be mad. Even if
Right.
you tell a joke that's perfect, somebody gets mad anyway. There's nobody, no, 100% of the world is not going to agree with you no matter what.
Right. No, that's
So
true. Yeah.
I'm just like, don't get mad. Just accept the fact that like we're in a world now where uh like if you want to go through certain subjects, you're taking a certain chance. That's just the way it is.
You're taking a risk, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, and think about it. Think about it this way. Like, think about it this way. Think about the jokes that they told in the 1940s that you would never tell today. But when people were like, you got to stop telling those jokes, in the 1940s, people also were like, what are you talking about?
Right.
Black people don't mind. I'm sure the same argument has happened throughout history.
Right. Well, I'm a big free speech advocate. And if you say something, fucking offensive or appalling, and people call you out for it, that's also free speech.
I agree. Yeah,
you should be able to
100%.
say it, but the minute that people call you out for it, you can't cry butthurt over it.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, just like, understand the world you're in. Please.
And I feel like too, like when you start to like censor stuff too much, then you almost make a martyr out of people. They shouldn't be a martyr. Like when people say something racist and it's immediately, they make a huge line of saying, not like they're offended by it, but like they should, all of a sudden it's like they're a martyr for the cause. For what cause? The minute that you broadcast how shitty they are, people are gonna, knock them down way more. The minute you hide them, they're like, oh, wait, maybe you're telling something that's true. And that's, I don't think it should be that way.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I mean, I think people will. I think people will eventually, like, figure it out.
It's I just wish people would calm down. Like people get all these like tribalistic teams where like they're hating each other. It's like they're talking over each other. They're not even having real conversations.
I agree. Like a lot of people, people will fight just to fight, and they're not interested in being friends.
Right.
And I'm just like, we have, like, we're on a planet together. Like, come on, guys.
Although,
come on,
that hasn't helped. I mean, people kill massive amount of people over like, different interpretations of a prophet or something.
Yeah.
like the Sunni Muslims and the Shia Muslims, they hate each other over what? Over like, I think it's a slight interpretation of who was a prophet.
It's really hard for me because I'm a firm believer in that, like, nothing really means anything, but you just decide what's important to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like we all decide what's important to us. And so it's strange to me that people decide that certain things are more important to them than just trying to be good to other people.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and the whole thing is like what you said, like, we need to live together. We need to not be assholes, basically.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Gotta not be assholes. I'm with you 100% on that.
Okay, so I won't keep you here all day. We'll wrap this up, but do you have projects you want to pitch? Do you have something that you're working on?
Yeah, I really want people to check out my podcast and request a page on my podcast. In fact, if you want to request a page, we'll dedicate an episode to you, because people awesome. Request pages all the time.
I'll shoot you a message about that. That sounds good.
Please do, man. And then just check that out. And by the time this comes out, we're going to be revving up new stuff on the gaming website. So you just come be part of it.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, man. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, man. It was a good time.